Okay, so we're going to do cabbage rolls. I want to give you the recipe. This recipe was taken off of allrecipes.com, and I'm modifying it to be Weight Watcher friendly. So I'll tell you what the original recipe was, and I'll tell you how I'm modifying it, and we'll get started. This is my first time making cabbage rolls, so I really don't know what I'm doing. So over here we have the stove. Obviously, I have 2 pots boiling. Cabbage rolls seem to be a little labor intensive. So the cabbage actually, in the original recipe, they don't call for boiling it. They just say to roll it. But I'm finding it impossible to even get the leaves off of the head of cabbage without breaking them. So I don't want them to break. I want to be able to roll the stuff in them. So I looked online, and somebody else said that you should boil it for a little bit or steam it. You don't want to boil it until this cabbage is completely soft, but you want to boil it until the cabbage leaves are pliable and you can pull them off comfortably. So I've cut one. I've severed it from the root of the cabbage here. I've severed it so I can see. I can use that as my example for when I want to pull it out. This is water for the rice. I use the Success rice, so you boil it first and then you put the bag in. So I've actually left my Success rice, sorry for the floor shot, over here. So I'm going to grab it and I'm going to put a pot in. I'm going to put a bag in. Okay, so the recipe originally calls for 12 leaves of cabbage, which is probably what I'll use. It calls for 1 cup cooked ripe. Holy crap. 1 cup cooked white rice. I prefer to use brown. It calls for 1 egg beaten. 1 egg beaten. It calls for a 1/4 cup of milk. I bought fat-free. It calls for a 1/4 cup minced onion. I'm not going to use minced onion. I'm going to cut up a real onion. And I'm probably going to use the whole onion instead of just a 1/4 cup. Unless it doesn't equal a 1/4 cup, and then I'll do another onion. 1 1/4 teaspoon salt. 1 1/4 teaspoons of ground black pepper, which I'll add. It does not call for garlic, but I like to add garlic to everything. So there's going to be garlic in our cabbage rolls. It calls for 1 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, but I read a review of this very same recipe on allrecipes.com, and the advice was to double the sauce, so that's what I'm going to do. A tablespoon of brown sugar. I am using Splenda brown sugar blend, and a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. And I love Worcestershire sauce, so we're going to use that. Probably a little bit more than a teaspoon. It also calls for a pound of extra lean ground beef, but if you watched my grocery haul yesterday, you saw that I have the extra lean ground white turkey, and I have the lean turkey Italian sausage. So I'm going to do half and half. Okay, so we have fashioned, I'm going to show you what we fashioned. We have fashioned a camera stand out of our pasta holder. And do that again. He suggested using the Sky Vodka bottle, but we are going to fashion it out of our pasta holder because it has a sturdier base. So if any of you have any suggestions for, well, I guess the #1 suggestion would be a tripod, Heather. But I wanted to show you because I have the sweet Italian sausages. They didn't have it ground like the turkey is. They only had it in the sausage casing. So I don't want to use this casing. So I'm just going to cut through the casing just like this. I'm going to cut the end off of it. And then I'm going to just squeeze the sausage out of it. That looks so gnarly. Just squeezing the sausage. And now I have sausage on my hands, so I'm kind of forced to keep taping in this manner. Because, Joe! You're a brat. And I just realized with this turkey, you don't have to cut the end. It's got an open end, so I'm just going to squeeze it. And now I'm forced to keep filming this way because now I have sausage all over my hands. Unless my lovely assistant Joe at some point wants to come over and assist my filming. I think he did not sign up for this YouTube fandom that I've got going on here. Okay, so that's done. And I'm going to now have the container of the white ground turkey that I have. And that means I'm just going to take this and I'm going to cut. And I'm going to use the same knife because I already touched turkey with it. So careful of cross-contamination. You don't want to get poultry, especially, is pretty iffy. So you want to make sure that you don't cross-contaminate raw poultry with anything else. So I will not be cutting my onion with the same knife that I'm cutting the poultry. Okay, so I've gotten half of this. Half is still there, so I can use that later. I also, out of the 5 sausages, I only use 3. So it looks like Joe and I will have maybe sausage and peppers this week with some turkey Italian sausage. That sounds good. So now I'm going to mix this in with the sausage. And I'm just going to use my hands. They're clean, don't worry. And I'm just, whoa, please don't fall in the raw poultry. That would be gross. My camera would be scarred for life. I would be scarred for life. So I'm just mixing it kind of like a meatloaf. This is actually, the stuffing for the cabbage rolls is extremely similar to what you would use to stuff, or not stuff, but to make a meatloaf. So that is the poultry all mixed up. And now I need to wash my hands. I should have cut my onion first, but this cooking tutorial is new for me. So next time I'll know better. So I had to stop making or chopping onions because the rice is ready and I need to get that off the stove. So I'm just going to take my little tongs and let it drain. The cabbage is still going. I'm going to check that as soon as I drain this rice. Drip, drip, drip. Put it in my bowl and let it sit there for a second. I'm going to mix that with the meat. Let me check this cabbage. It's looking very pliable, so we are going to take that off as well. I'm going to shut that off. That's going to have to cool before I put my mitts on it. This cabbage recipe is very labor intensive. I don't know if I told you that or not, but it seems to be pretty labor intensive.